Hello and welcome to the first episode of Two Gay Cats. My name is Marcus.
My name is Grant.
And today we're going to be talking about the film Interstellar. Now, for those of you who don't know,
damn it, that movie.
Yeah, we have strong feelings about Interstellar.
It has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It does.
How?
It does.
I'm not saying that's in any way a guarantee of quality, but it has a 71% on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's true. It's absolutely absurd.
That's supposedly fresh. This is a fresh movie.
Well, the Phantom Menace is, 61%? That's fresh. Before we get into the movie, though, we should explain what Two Gay Cats is. This is going to be
what is Two Gay Cats?
Two Gay Cats is our show. This is going to be a podcast that we will put out pretty regularly, maybe once every few weeks or so. And our primary topics are probably going to be like movies, TV, maybe some video games, basically anything popular culture. We're both massive cinephiles, so movie and TV are probably going to be a big component of this.
Probably movies.
As we keep going, probably movies. It's probably going to be mainly movies. But as we keep going, who knows what other topics we'll hit.
We're not really limited.
We're kind of experimenting with the format, but we hope this is going to be fun, and we hope whoever's listening enjoys it. So, back to the film Interstellar, directed by Christopher Nolan, a whopping about, 3 hours long, I'd say?
Yeah, it's something like 2 hours and 50 minutes. Actually, we have the...
Yeah, we have the runtime up here.
We do have the runtime up here. We should actually be looking at it.
You know what? I bet it's 3 hours, though.
No, it was like 250. 2 hours and 50 minutes.
Is the runtime up here?
How is it not?
It's not up here. Well, you know what? We're just going to say it's 2 hours.
169 minutes.
169 minutes. There you go.
Makes it
so about 2 hours. 2 hours 50.
2 hours 50 minutes. Yeah.
He was right. So we just watched this last night. I had seen this movie during release, and at the time, the night of, I thought it was a great movie, mostly because I was drunk on the visuals, I will admit. I tried to defend it for about 6 hours that night, and then the next day I woke up with one of those kind of crushing feelings where you realize your initial impressions of something were so far off the mark, you feel like an idiot. Whereas...
That can happen a lot with a Nolan film, unfortunately.
It can, and that's kind of how I feel about, to a lesser degree, Inception.
The issue, though, is that I feel like with a movie like Inception, you have you see the movie and you're like, this is the best movie ever, I love it. It's has this excellent visual style, a really interesting plot and characters, and then you realize, okay, the plot actually isn't that interesting. It doesn't hang together as well as I thought it did.
Yeah, it kind of hangs on a few buttons, yeah.
There's some problems with it, but then eventually, honestly, at least I came back to a reckoning of you know what? It's still a really good movie.
Inception is a really good introduction
actually,
to concept,
it's still a really good plot. There are problems with it. It's not perfect, but I still like it.
It's at least fun. Whereas Interstellar,
The Dark Knight is the same way for me too. This is a movie that has a really, really, really good plot and really good theming and good characters and stuff like that. But there are still some problems with it. It's not as perfect as I thought it was the first time I saw it.
Yeah. I will say Dark Knight, I think, is the...
I know every single Nolan film actually I can say that about. Memento, The Prestige.
Yeah. I would say The Dark Knight is probably the best of his examples of a popular film at balancing kind of the emotional highs and lows that he's trying to go for versus, I guess, the more technical aspects of filmmaking, hitting all the right cues.
Yeah.
Really trying to make a good film versus an emotionally invested blockbuster. The Interstellar seems like the opposite of what The Dark Knight achieved, whereas the balance is slid so far at times either to very accurate depictions of space travel and, well, I guess very accurate is a terrible bit of terminology because the space travel in this movie basically can be summed up by gravity slingshots and, to be honest, just planetary landings that don't make much sense. I mean, I get it. This is far future technology. I think it's supposed to be set in about 2060.
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess.
Maybe. But my thought is that it takes some skips in its scientific accuracy at times, which is fine, because of course it's a space movie. But the problem ends up being... But
they're so stupid.
Well, the problem ends up being is that the scientific accuracy of this movie kind of begins and ends at gravity slingshots and the general concept of relativity, not even accurate relativity. For example, there's a planet that they land on in the search for a new Earth, or a new planet that can support life,
That
where
is right.
time is it is at the edge of a black hole away.
Time
and I've heard
travels.
And time travels immensely slowly.
Yeah.
I think 1 hour is 7 years.
1 hour on planet is 7 years off planet,
Yeah.
which is how the whatever scientist has been able to.
Yeah, the main characters are able to stay young while the Earth sort of ages when they're stuck on that planet for a couple hours. Oh, by the way, spoilers. We're gonna put that in the title. But
yes, I mean we're going super in depth with this film.
Which is an
that
interesting
wasn't obvious
concept.
from the start.
Well, that's an interesting concept, but like,
Spoilers is an interesting concept.
Well, no, the gravity relativity, but the relativity is an interesting concept. But the problem is that, why is this planet that is orbiting a black hole's accretion disk ever considered to be like a viable alternative to Earth?
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand the idea that, like, the black hole, like, how that planet even works at all.
I kind of do. So
like,
on the accretion disk, you're not going to have enough, like...
There are gigantic waves that just appear out of nowhere all the time.
Oh, well, that...
Apparently because of the black hole, which is something that all the smart scientists... Yeah, and that's fine, but why did all the scientists not realize that?
Well, they don't have a whole lot of data on it. I mean, they've sent some probes in. My thought is, why didn't they send unmanned probes instead of the bravest men and women known to humanity, as they're called? They sent 12 astronauts into 12 planets in the star system.
And all of them die.
I guess we should probably go over the plot a little more, because we're getting into the scientific accuracy pretty hardcore right now.
Yeah.
We're really upset about that. But I guess we should go over the plot. Okay,
well, yeah, let's...
So I mean, we already know the plot. So basically, the Interstellar starts off with a future Earth in, according to this, it's 2067, not too far off. So there's basically this fungal infection called the blight, and it only eats crops and nitrogen.
Can I talk about how much I hate the blight?
No, we got to get through the plot first.
The blight is terrible.
The blight is terrible. We will get to it, though. We got to get through the plot, otherwise nobody will have that. Okay, so anyways, we start off with Matthew McConaughey. He's a former NASA pilot. We know this because of 20 seconds of brief flickery footage of him crashing a space shuttle.
Yep. It's not even. It's a plane. I'm pretty like.
No, it's the same.
It's a shuttle. You're kidding.
From the exterior shot, it's the same shuttle that they use. It's the Ranger shuttle.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That just made sense to me. Mm-hmm. Thanks, movie. You explained that so well.
Oh, I know. So, anyways, Matthew McConaughey and family.
I love how it's always it's expressionistic in a movie in a point like that.
No, I know.
You know when it doesn't have to be.
No, I know.
And then it's like super fucking obvious when it's describing the most basic rudiments of like anything.
I know. This is a running theme in Interstellar. So, anyways, Matthew McConaughey's family run this corn farm, which is one of the only crops they can grow, and starts off with his daughter thinking that there is a ghost in her bedroom. And during a dust storm, they notice that a series of books and a weird dust pattern is on the floor. Matthew McConaughey realizes, put in huge, fucking enormous air quotes, realizes that the pattern on the floor is binary code, while his daughter realizes that the book is Morse code.
Yep. I don't know why they're different codes.
The binary code is the coordinates for a secret NASA facility, because in the future, with this crop blight happening,
you can't actually... NASA's been shut down.
NASA's been shut down.
Allegedly.
So, to their credit, so have the militaries. Essentially, all of human resources... I don't even think there's a manufacturing center, because they're using...
This is another thing I hate
they're
about
using
this future.
Cars,
this future is so implausible.
They're using cars from the early 2000s and the 1990s. I don't even think there's manufacturing available anymore, because everyone is stuck with old technology.
Yeah,
everyone is stuck with old shit.
And that makes no sense either.
Which makes no sense, obviously, and they don't believe in the Apollo missions, and this whole society is basically stuck in itself trying to grow corn.
There's actually, like, the government has now decided that teaching students about the Apollo missions would, like...
damage them.
Make them think that maybe they shouldn't just farm all the time, so that's a bad thing.
They'd waste resources, you gotta make corn.
Even though, once again, we found out that the same government is now... funding a secret NASA facility.
Yeah, so they find the secret NASA facility based on the binary code in the dust pattern that appears on the floor from when a dust storm blows dust in their window.
From the ghost.
And they believe,
quote unquote,
Cooper and his daughter believe that was a communication using gravity. Now, bear in mind, that makes no fucking sense. I guess, microgravity, tiny gravity to manipulate physical objects.
I guess.
But that seems retarded just as a concept. That seems ridiculous. But, we go with it. Okay, there's somebody communicating using, I guess, microscopic anomalies in gravity. They described as an anomaly. Fine, whatever.
So he ends up at the secret NASA facility.
And,
of course, it's not Jessica Chastain, but young Jessica Chastain.
Mm-hmm. So you gotta call her Murph. It's Cooper and Murph.
You're right.
You gotta call her Murph.
I don't have to call her anything.
Call her Murph, damn it.
I can call her whatever I want to.
Alright.
Murph.
Yeah, you gotta call her Murph.
Sneaks on to the F-150 that they have.
Yeah, Murph comes with Matthew McConaughey's Cooper.
They never replaced the tire that they lose.
And they find via the binary code a set of geographical coordinates to a secret NASA facility, and they're met by Michael Caine, who is Anne Hathaway's, who is also a professor at this secret funded NASA facility's daughter. I don't even know if I said that sentence right, but anyways, Anne
Hathaway is Michael Caine's daughter.
Yes. And
for some reason,
Michael Caine and Anne Hathaway revealed that there was a wormhole discovered 48 years ago above Saturn, apparently created by higher intelligence, because, as we know, wormholes are probably most likely not something that could happen naturally. It'd probably have to be something engineered, which makes sense, and that's a very interesting concept, actually. And it leads to a different galaxy with 12 habitable planets.
That's like the one,
That's the one...
I'm not going to say the one thing in this movie that I think is smart, but, it's one of the things from this movie that I'm like, okay, this is actually, kind of clever. Once it's revealed at the end of the movie, who made the wormhole, which we'll get to, but, once that's revealed, I'm like, okay, this is incredible. This is actually, really stupid and obvious. Mm-hmm. This is, the most easy solution to that problem I've ever, heard from a science fiction perspective. But it's still interesting to, have, okay, you're having a wormhole here that, is actually, a tether. Maybe you can save Earth. You can save humanity.
Yeah. So.
And then for some reason they have to send 12 brave astronauts.
Well, they sent 12 brave astronauts through the wormhole already. They've sent all 12 of them through to categorize each of these 12 planets that they found in the star system.
I believe it's later explained when they meet one of the astronauts, Matt Damon.
Yes, Matt Damon.
That they had to send humans because machines aren't smart enough or something. This movie has a really weird perspective on AI
machines.
Life.
Wait, machines.
A really. I
know the answer to that from the movie.
Oh, it's because they don't
improvise well and they don't fear death. Yep, machines don't improvise and they don't fear death.
Yeah,
except for the part where
I'm still saying is a bad thing.
No, wait.
Except also where Tars fears death.
In the concept of the movie, we actually have to get through this plot. We have to get through this plot. This is about how you'll feel when you watch the movie trying to get through the plot, because you will try to get through the plot in a cohesive one shot. Not happening. You will stop and you will go, what the fuck is going on? So anyway, they've sent 12 volunteers through this man-made wormhole that should be our salvation, right? There are 12 planets. All of them may have the potential to harbor life. That's neat, right? And they all orbit this gigantic black hole. So basically, Michael Caine's scientist brand, tries to recruit Matthew McConaughey.
And you don't, just for the record, you don't know that it's near a black hole until you go through the wormhole.
Oh, no, they don't.
They hide that fact from you for some weird reason, even though they must have known it.
No, because it's supposed to be a thrill ride. This is the thrill ride. Things just pop up in this movie. But anyways, Matthew McConaughey is basically shanghaied from his previous piloting experience crashing a space shuttle to pilot this one last spaceship that is the last hope for mankind to find a new Earth. And there are two plans, basically, for the spaceship. Plan A is that they find life-habitable planet, and then they try to harness gravity for propulsion on Earth so that people can follow that spaceship to the new Earth.
Okay, now once again, this plan is not well explained.
It's true.
There's sort of it's sort of explained there's some sort of gravity, they're going to use gravity to lift people off the Earth or something, but it's not really
Basically, the idea is that gravity propulsion is supposed to be manufactured for a new fleet of spacecraft. God knows how they're going to manufacture that, because there doesn't seem to be any manufacturing centers anymore. But plan A is they're going to manufacture a ton of spacecraft.
Well, except for NASA, which has super futuristic technology.
But NASA is one facility, though. It's one NORAD facility.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm like.
Yeah. Like, they can't...
No, and that's what Plan A is that they're going to save, like, NORAD.
Right.
Like, it's not even, like, really explained that Plan A is to save everyone, even though it's sort of, like, implied that way.
No, it is, though. It is, Anne Hathaway character believes that, too.
Yeah, which I think is really weird. Because it's, like, at the very least, you should, like, acknowledge that not everyone on Earth can be saved. Most likely. Which
is where Plan B comes in. Plan B is where the Endurance is also stocked with 5,000 fertilized frozen embryos for when the astronauts, upon finding in Earth, will start raising those. And
spoiler alert, they never come to like play at all.
No, of course not.
They're basically, because it's horrifying. How dare we even consider this as like a Plan B?
Yes, how dare we leave people behind and not save the species? Matthew McConaughey's Cooper agrees to go almost without a motherfucking second thought. Michael Caine gives him a weird speech.
It is the second thought until Murphy gets upset and he's like, God damn it, Murphy, you shouldn't be upset. Your dad's doing something great. It's like, really?
Yeah, and so
really?
Murph goes and cries in a room, basically because she's very upset that her dad is flying away for many, many years.
Understandably.
And she's very upset with him, and Matthew McConaughey's character seems to be, for a father who's supposed to have a wonderful bond with his daughter, absolutely clueless as to how to deal with emotional turmoil. So he just leaves.
For a widow, too.
So, Cooper, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
he doesn't have...
His wife
His
died.
wife is dead.
You would think that he would understand some basic rudiments of, like, trauma. And his dad, played by John Lithgow.
Yeah, John Lithgow plays... no, he plays the mother's father.
Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry.
John Lithgow plays an old man
his father-in-law, who relieves in, like... charge of his son and daughter.
Yes, he's the caretaker in the wake of Matthew McConaughey's
like is also leaving. Just like, even though earlier in the movie he gives like Cooper shit for even like thinking about like
space travel
and like other things, he's totally cool with Murphy just Cooper just flying off into space and like leaving him with this massive burden of like a son and daughter.
Oh well, no, because he still feels guilty because his wife had a cyst. Also, there are no MRI machines in this reality, and they make a point to point that out. They can't manufacture MRIs anymore because they're
way of exposition ever.
And that's why Cooper's wife died, actually, is because there are no MRI machines, which is the dumbest fucking thing ever. But, okay, so basically you have the spaceship, and Cooper goes on with Anne Hathaway as an astronaut, and then there are several other astronauts.
There's the black guy.
There's Black Guy astronaut, and then there's Stupid Beardy. Yeah, Stupid Beardy.
Literally Superman.
And Stupid Beardy does not last long, as you can probably guess.
Of course not, because he's Stupid Beardy.
And we also have two robots
and
named Tarzan
Black Guy
Case.
Ages, sort of.
Yes, he does.
We'll
get to that
his
later.
His beard gets whiter, so you know that he's older.
We got to get to that. We'll get to that soon, though, because we got to get past the first planet, though.
I know.
But we got to talk about the robots. They also go with two robots.
They're dumb.
He thinks the robots are dumb. I think the robots are also dumb. The robots are basically these 6 foot by 2 foot quadrilaterals. Named Tarzan Case, and what their gig is they move around by subdividing their quadrilateral into other quadrilaterals, so they can make like little limbs out of everything because they're like Transformers. If you know the effect from the first Transformers movie, where like Transformers just spontaneously spout limbs seemingly from nowhere, this is how those robots work, and they have actually fairly good voice actors. They're pretty funny.
I mean, Tars is voiced by Matt Damon.
No, not Matt Damon, actually. We know this.
Is it really? No, Case is voiced by the other guy.
It's, I think, Bill Irwin, and then the other guy, Case, is voiced by another guy.
Look at the cast. Like, we can just figure this out right now.
We can figure this out.
Go down to the cast.
I want the cast. Okay, so, yeah, Josh Stewart is Case, and Bill Irwin is Tars.
Is Tars, yeah.
And apparently there was some puppetry involved in these
robots.
He sounds
exactly like Matt Damon.
Yeah, they do sound very much the same.
I'm sorry. I knew that Case wasn't Matt Damon, like...
And what the oddest thing is that Tarzan Case, I'm just going to put it out there right now, the funniest and most interesting characters in this movie are the robots again.
Oh, definitely.
The boxy
weirdly,
robots.
A lot like Prometheus that way too. Where
Yes,
the most interesting character is Michael Fassbender.
Yeah.
And not just because Michael Fassbender is the best actor in that movie, but also just because like his character actually has like
intriguing motivations.
Like
intriguing dilemmas.
Oh, like there's actually something interesting going on here. The the human scientist characters are acting like children, but he's actually like an interesting like character who's like really just fucking around, like trying to like figure things out.
Yep.
But it's the same thing with like these robots. They're like actually like
And you understand that. So after a transition period where they leave Earth and talk about how much they were going to miss Earth, they hit in the wormhole.
Which is interminable. It goes on for like 20
forever.
minutes. It's a complete waste of time.
Yes.
It makes, like, I feel like the whole point, like, Nolan's trying to make in it is, like, how long space travel is. And, you know, like, I feel like that's, like...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
He's trying to make a point about how, like, whatever, how long space travel is. But it's a complete waste of, like, the audience's time, of our time, of everyone's time, and just awful. It could be easily
It is
scrubbed.
pretty gross.
It could be scrubbed for the movie, very simply. Especially in a movie that's almost 3 hours long, and does not need to be.
Yeah, so after we get through that slog, you get these wonderful effect shots outside of Saturn, and as they enter the wormhole, there's a very fantastic effect shot of the wormhole itself. Now, granted, the explanation of why a wormhole in this movie, which is depicted as a sphere, yeah, as opposed to every other
where it's a hole,
fiction where it's a hole in space, it's a two-dimensional kind of hole thing going on. It
sort of relies on like the very simplistic like flatland. Kind of like...
It does rely on the flatland approach to explain why the
which is fine.
Is a sphere, not a
I don't have an issue with it. You did, though.
I kind of do, because I feel like it dumps down the lowest common denominator. Then again, what else is new with this film?
It's one of the first times where it does that, too.
Also,
like,
every
it gets
character
so much
should know
worse.
Every character
should
need
Cooper, who should, like, at least be, as a NASA pilot, familiar with the rudiments of, like, theoretical, physics.
Yes. And, to be honest... That's kind of where it gets me, is that the audience at this point should not need an explanation of what a wormhole is, I feel like. Other than it's a point
not really.
that's a point that transitions you instantly from one part of space to another.
But I mean, I feel like Nolan wanted to like...
Did we need a drawing?
Wanted to show how cool he was that like he knew
of course
that it would be a sphere.
Of course he did. As if anybody wouldn't know that it was a sphere if you thought about it.
So they go through the wormhole.
There's a wonderful scene where they go through the wormhole. It looks fantastic.
It's a little. To be honest, it's 2001.
It's 2001.
It's very Beyond the Infinite, like the final scene in the final act in 2001, actually, where it's like, you know, all the trippy stuff happens that everyone like associates with
the visual effects.
2001. There's like the wall of stars kind of thing. That effect is definitely used. Where like it has like
very much so
the two walls and like you like see all the stars moving by and it's like and at least it's cool.
It's a new iteration on that effect though, and there's some interesting light effects going on there.
And then of course Anne Hathaway like does a quote unquote handshake with a time anomaly, like a space time anomaly.
Yeah, she sees a light out the window flickering into the cabin, and it warps space time. So naturally, everything.
Annoyingly,
and she touches it.
Annoyingly, Nolan thinks that we have to explain that later in the film, and it would be so much better if that was unexplained. You know what I mean?
It would.
Like if that was just like.
But in any case, so they go through the wormhole, and right away they're right at the first of the 12 planets. Now it should be noted that by this time. They are getting enough data, now that they're in the same star system, that only 3 of the 12 planets are transmitting. So if you thought we were going to go to all 12 planets, fuck you. So...
Well, you were stupid because they were very clear from the get-go that it was just going to be like Miller, Edmonds, and Mann, whatever.
No, they only learned that on the spaceship right outside of Saturn, though, when they got out of cryogenic freeze. They go into cryogenic freeze a lot in this movie.
Then yeah, well, it was still before when they went to the wormhole, though.
But anyways, so...
I know they knew before they went there.
Anyways, they're right outside of this first planet. Now, this first planet is the one we've bitched so much about already, in that it is right outside of the black hole. There's a time dilation effect of 1 hour for every 7 Earth years. This is ridiculous and insane. We've already talked about it, though, so at this point, they want to go down.
The only other thing I want to, like, honestly bitch about this is that, like, this planet... Why do they have to visit it first? There's sort of like a hand-waving explanation for it. About
it's
fuel.
There. It's there.
Like, it's closest.
Yeah.
But, like, it's so clearly not
viable.
The most viable planet.
No, it's not. They don't have any data from it at all, which makes me think that they should have slingshot around the entire solar system.
They should know that they're going to lose more fuel going to the one next to Gargantua than, like, other...
Well, no, they're going to slingshot around Gargantua, though. That's the whole point, is that they're going to drop out.
That's actually not... That plane comes in much later.
Oh, never mind.
Remember that? Cause that's a, like... After they leave Mann's planet, they're like, well, the only way we can get to the other planet now is if we slingshot around Gargantua.
Yeah. So, So they decided to go down to Miller's planet anyway because they've named it after the Miller astronaut who went there and who is still supposedly transmitting. So spoiler alert, she's not. So they leave one guy and one robot aboard the main ship while they descend in a lander. And they find only wreckage from Miller's expedition. Time dilation-wise, she's probably crashed minutes, maybe an hour ago. Haha. And they retrieve Miller's data just as a gigantic tidal wave hits, killing McBeardy, the astronaut, who is basically their red shirt. And when they finally manage to get the engines of the lander
Henry
restarted,
Cavill, who is Superman.
Yeah, and he's Henry Cavill. And they finally decide to get the engines restarted like 3 hours later and fly off the planet, by which time about 23 years have elapsed on Earth. So on Earth, Murph... Cooper's daughter, Matthew McConaughey's daughter, is now an adult, has become a theoretical physicist and is assisting.
Which is of course hinted at.
Yeah, she's very intrigued
like so
in
smart
gravity and stuff, and she's very intelligent.
Unlike her brother, who is a farmer.
Yeah, her brother is an idiot farmer who is also a horrible person.
A horrible cliche.
So she's been assisting Michael Caine the whole time as Michael Caine gets old. And when Michael Caine finally dies, he admits to her that in his mind, his gravity-solving equation, to use gravity as a propulsion method, is unsolvable and Plan A is impossible. And then he lied to everyone, and he pinned his hopes on Plan B. Murph sends a message back through the wormhole, basically, to the spaceship, notifying everybody that Michael Caine is dead, and then he accuses... Anne Hathaway's character, his daughter, and she accuses Anne Hathaway's character and Cooper of abandoning Earth, basically, and abandoning the Plan A, and abandoning all the people to die from blight, starvation, or whatever.
Yeah.
And nonetheless, she continues working, believing her equations can be solved if they can somehow get more data on gravitational singularities. You know, the inside of a black hole, which is, of course, impossible to get information on, as very little information, if any, escapes a black hole. With limited fuel... after this 23-year hiatus, and with the black astronaut, which I'm just going to call him that because I don't know his character, and they spend about 5 seconds on his character.
He's aged 23 years.
He's aged 23 years.
You know
this
because his beard is a little whiter.
Mm-hmm. Looks the same, though. They spent very little makeup on that.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Laziness. So
laziness.
They now have limited fuel, so the whole fuel-saving endeavor had backfired. So they have only one planet that they're allowed to go to. They decide to go to Man's Planet, who is played by Matt Damon. And Matt Damon is still there in his capsule in cryosleep. And once he awakens, he basically shows them around the planet and shows them all. The frozen planet is basically ammonia-laden and is hellish and everything. The surface below the surface, quote-unquote, below the rocky exterior is livable according to his data. Once he's alone with Matthew McConaughey's character, Matt Damon attempts to kill Matthew McConaughey, revealing he falsified the data out of cowardice just to be rescued.
Oh, man.
Just to be saved because he's too afraid of dying.
I kind of guessed that would happen.
No, obviously.
Before it did. And then, once they actually got to his planet and he was, enthusiastic about the surface, I didn't think it would happen until it became super obvious as they were getting near the edge of the fucking ice cliff clouds that they were on. Oh, yeah. That oh man, you're gonna murder Matthew McConaughey, aren't you?
Also, just to clarify, Matt Damon also kills the black guy by rigging a booby trap to explode his entire habitat
at the most convenient time for plot.
As soon as somebody realizes that his data is falsified in the main computer.
Yep.
Which is the dumbest fucking thing in the world. But anyways, so Matt Damon manages to take one of their landers and run away with it back towards the mothership to try and get more food and supplies and survive longer. And Anne Hathaway finds Matthew McConaughey just before he's about to die, and they race in the second lander, and they manage to lock Matt Damon out of the auto-docking procedure. And what does Matt Damon do? He tries to dock manually despite being twitchy and jittery and insane. And he gets an impartial lock with the airlock and blows the shit out of the mothership itself. Now, this situation is miraculously, of course, saved by Matthew McConaughey's slick pilot, who manages to get the second lander under the mothership rapidly falling out of orbit, and not only stops its spin so he can actually dock with it, he then pushes upwards with only some retro rockets to push a massively larger object back out of orbit, which I don't know if a lander could ever produce that much thrust, but that seems insane. And to be honest, all of the spaceflight and all of the, I suppose, spacecraft scenarios are fairly realistically portrayed. It's just what is actually being done might be impossible.
Yeah, but
if you think about it.
I don't have an issue with that.
I guess I don't have as much of an issue with that. It sounds like I'm negative about that. These scenes are actually some of the most impressively visually in the movie. Like, they're very cool to watch. Hans Zimmer's soundtrack here is fucking stellar.
It is pretty fantastic.
It's beautiful. There's a one...
It's
Interstellar, yeah. It's absolutely stellar, and it really does. It's one that
it is very good. That's one of the things I liked about it a lot. It's better than John Williams.
It is better than
score for the new Star Wars movie.
See, there are tracks in the new Star Wars movie I really like though.
You like them so much.
You made me sad. You made John Williams sad.
I hope I did. He should
stop being bad.
He should know that he can be better than this.
Stop being bad. Anyway, so after they stabilize the mothership, which is severely damaged, one of the robots warns Matthew McConaughey that their mothership is now slipping not into the planet's pull, but into the black hole's pull. Now, Matthew McConaughey makes the decision to use the black hole as a gravitational slingshot to propel the mothership towards Edmund's planet, which is the final planet that is still transmitting. But their proximity to the black hole means 51 years will elapse on Earth due to temporal relativity.
Yeah.
So they're wasting another 51 years on Earth, even though they're not going home, so they shouldn't care. To shed weight, Cooper jettisons both himself and the robot towards the black hole, as well as 2 landers that they use as booster engines, so that Anne Hathaway alone and her final robot Case can complete the journey. They slip past the event horizon and then find themselves enveloped in a tesseract. So basically, inside of a 4-dimensional cube. Right away, 4-dimensional cube, very strange, right?
Its visual representation is like at times good and at times bad, because you can't picture a 4-dimensional cube
no.
Like, it is, as a human being, that's like, you can't really do that. You can only sort of do it by analogy. And the analogies they use are, like, sort of good, but also sort of terrible.
They're very simplistic.
Like, it's very much, once again, it's a very Inception-y kind of scene when it comes down to it. A lot of the effects in this movie, actually, are very Inception-y.
Yeah. It's, at least they didn't go with the Tesseract like Marvel did, where it's just a cube with some light in it.
A magical cube, yeah.
Yes. That is nice.
But even then, it's a Tesseract. Oh. That's not what a Tesseract is.
No, it's not.
You should know that, Christopher Nolan.
But anyways...
You have someone explaining these things to you.
So they slip inside of this quantum singularity, where it turns out that Matthew McConaughey is able to see the same bookshelf and bedroom that his daughter found the message in the first place.
Spoiler alert,
yes.
He's the ghost.
Spoiler alert, basically Matthew McConaughey is the one who makes the gravitational
Matthew McConaughey literally made everything weird that happened happen. Except for, like, making the wormhole. That was the future humans.
Yes, so basically, the way we understand this, spoiler alert, so Matthew McConaughey is the one who pushes books off to send messages to his daughter.
We're, like, way past spoiler alerts at this point.
Yeah, I know. But Matthew McConaughey is initially the one who pushes books off to make his daughter think there's a ghost. He is also the one who later parts the dust into binary code somehow with gravitational anomalies.
That's not explained at all.
Not really, but
he just kind of does it.
And as a final note, a watch he gave to his daughter is later used with the second hand to impart
quantum data that TARS was supposed to collect that solves the equation.
Well, okay.
So that Plan A can work.
Yeah, basically the idea is that the robot that they send in with Matthew McConaughey to shed weight, TARS, has been taking data. He sends it to Matthew McConaughey inside the black hole. He sends it to Matthew McConaughey's suit. Matthew McConaughey is able to translate that into Morse code or something.
The point is that it's bullshit.
Yes, the point is it's bullshit. And then he sends it by manipulating the second hand using micro-gravitational anomalies to point it back and forth to different numbers to send data to his daughter. His daughter Eureka's the gravitational equation.
And throws papers down.
And throws papers into the NASA
because it's traditional.
Into the NASA thing because it's traditional.
Man, and a scene that, like, you can tell Jessica Chastain is like, what am I doing?
Yeah. And it should be noted that the what we believe the wormhole and the black hole singularity were created by where Anne Hathaway does go on to that Edmonds planet and does establish a colony there. She's shown later at the end of the film standing on this desert, rocky horizon.
I mean, you're kind of skipping
with her
ahead,
helmet off.
Marcus.
No,
if we're gonna go by the plot, we should talk about how.
Oh my God! All right.
How Cooper gets ejected when the Tesseract collapses.
Yeah. So basically,
he gets ejected from the black hole, like actually outside of the wormhole into Saturn, where he then wakes up in a magical space habitat that's called
Cooper Station.
Cooper Station.
It's named after him.
Named after... No, it's not. It's named after his daughter.
And he finally meets his daughter on her deathbed with all of their
played by Ellen
family.
Burstyn for like 2 seconds.
Yes, for about 3 seconds. And she's like, Dad, you came back. And he's like, wow, wasn't that great? Wasn't that great? We saved
And like,
mankind.
no joke, it was actually pretty affecting. Because like...
It was. It's a very emotional scene. It actually does
because
work.
Like, oh my God, like... Because like that's one of the things with this movie that actually does work very well is like they're all very good. They're all like good to great actors. Mm-hmm. So like even though the script and the plotting is ridiculous and bullshit a lot of the time, they're very good at selling it a lot of the time, especially like the more emotional, actual like human qualities of the movie. So they meet up. They actually like. They have a moment and it is very affecting.
And then she dies.
And after encouraging him to go back to meet Anne Hathaway on Edmund's planet, quote unquote.
Yes.
The planet where she has actually started to set up.
She's found colony with the embryos, and she's going to be the mother of humanity again. And basically, I can kind of actually summarize what I think happened. So the black hole and the wormhole are made by Anne Hathaway's human civilization, because it's clear that Anne Hathaway does have the 5,000 embryos in the initial timeline and does breed them all and like make some sort of civilization. And then they would have made the black hole that gives Matthew McConaughey the ability to contact his daughter and the rest of humanity.
Because time has no meaning.
And the wormhole and everything. And because time has no meaning to them because they've evolved beyond that or some other bullshit. Yeah. Which they are, however, kind of... that future is kind of semi-erased when Matthew McConaughey, inside of the black hole construct, contacts his daughter, changes history. Therefore, the black hole construction collapses because it never existed in the first place. Therefore, Matthew McConaughey is ejected as the wormhole and the black hole are collapsing because neither of them existed, and he emerges at Saturn, where he would have been had there been no wormhole. They would have just taken the ship out there. Still doesn't make any sense. Fuck it. But he emerges in the future due to the relativity aspects, because he's at this point like 70 years, and
he's 120.
Yeah, well, yeah, but but 70 years after he left though, so he's 120 about that. So he emerges in space.
No, you're right, because it would be like 74 years.
Yeah, about 75 years.
23 for the planet, and then.
And as luck would have it, advanced spaceships find him and transport him to I believe it's was it McNeil cylinder?
Yeah.
It's basically a cylinder where artificial gravity keeps I believe, like 2 kilometer in diameter cylinder functioning, where there's fields and houses, and there's a little like town inside of a space cylinder, and that's one of their many space habitats that are able to be utilized thanks to solving gravity.
Yeah, they solve gravity.
And Cooper with his old friend Tars the robot finally end the movie by leaving inside of an X-Wing to go find Anne Hathaway.
You're not lying.
It is an X-Wing. It looks ridiculous. It's like a starfighter.
It's all of a sudden Battlestar Galactica, honestly.
It looks like
it does look like
Battlestar Galactica.
What the heck?
So I guess we should move back to thoughts about Interstellar in general. Now that we've muddled our way through this horrible plot.
We've kind of like explain most of my problems with it.
True.
I think the one thing that comes to mind that we have not bitched about, that I do hate, is that like there's this recurring stupid theme about love.
Yes, love is the unquantifiable, except for the part where it is quantifiable.
It's just the most obvious like sci-fi cliche ever, where it's like science can figure out everything but love.
Yes, science can figure out everything but the human condition.
Oh no, we can't figure out love.
Yeah,
and it's like. I don't even like totally disagree with like the idea of having something that like is beyond the reach of science in a science fiction movie. I don't think it's entirely a bad idea to like talk about how like there are certain aspects of like lived experience that are beyond the understanding of like pure scientific like observation, empirical, like recording. But that does not mean that you can just go out there and pretend that like that love is this magical force that allows Matthew McConaughey to find his daughter at the right points in time to communicate the magical data that he needs to. It's just ridiculous.
No, love is not used as a motivation in this movie so much as love is used as a fucking tool to advance the plot, and the characters are aware of this.
The other thing I hate about it too is like Anne Hathaway sort of introduces this concept of like love is a magical force.
Yes,
because she's crushing on one of the astronauts.
She's crushing on one of the astronauts that they sent to basically go die on an Earth-like planet, or at least one of the Earth-like planets.
Edmonds, the guy who is on the planet that she ends up on.
Yeah, he's not alive anymore.
And it's so gross because she's the only woman on the
Yeah, the only woman on the project, of course, has to be the most emotional one. The only woman has to be the emotional, ridiculous one who says, "Yes, but science doesn't understand love." And I'm like, okay.
Exactly. Okay. And it's like, are you kidding me?
You've ruined it. You've ruined the plot, laddie. So that was Interstellar. It's on Hulu right now, I think.
It is.
If you want to watch it's on Hulu.
I would not recommend it.
Here's what I would recommend it. I would recommend you to see.
Let's actually look at like final
recommendation.
This will be like our thumbs up, thumbs down segment of this podcast.
See it for the visual effects.
Do you recommend it?
See it for the visual effects, and see it if you want a middling, and I will say middling because I've seen much worse science fiction film. Do not expect greatness. Certainly do not expect 2001. This is not 2001 for the next generation.
I would genuinely like. I'm more negative than you on this.
Yes, Grant is more negative than I am.
Thanks for explaining for the audience.
That's going to be a theme in this podcast.
Wow, I see how it is. I would not recommend it even for the visual effects because I feel like see Gravity,
that's true.
Like
see Gravity,
other movies
I agree with
that have like better visual styling. Like see 2001. See
2001 before anything.
Like. See Solaris. Like there are so many other science fiction movies.
What is Solaris? I want to
see it. It's a Tarkovsky film.
Ooh.
One of the more annoying things about this Wikipedia page about Interstellar too was that he references like all these movies that he Christopher Nolan like clearly just saw and liked, and we're like, yeah, Interstellar's like this movie that I liked, and like one of them is The Mirror by Andrei Tarkovsky.
Yep.
And it's like, you're just being pretentious. You saw The Mirror once, didn't understand it because no one can understand The Mirror, and you were like, oh, I loved his sense of place, and I copied that in Interstellar.
See, and there are also more...
Sure you did.
There are also obviously more pulp fictional, or pulp cinematic references. Obviously, they start off in a Dust Bowl-like setting on Earth, where they only farm corn, and it's hellish and dusty, because Star Wars... That is an actual fucking quote from Christopher Nolan.
God, it's true, isn't it?
At least I'm pretty sure it is anyways. If not, all science fiction should start out like that. Oh, no, it was more towards the world should appear used cliche, which is nice, and I kind of agree with that. But the amount of sources that he cites, Metropolis, Blade Runner, obviously 2001, which is the only valid one, I feel like.
Yep.
Obviously, you can't make a film in a vacuum, but no one in it's an actual inspiration.
Star Wars, and Alien.
Yes, Alien.
And then, of course, The Mirror, like I mentioned, it's like...
And then Treasure to Sierra Madre, in terms of the human... Treasure of the Sierra Madre is a film about human nature. He cites that as basically his inspiration for the human nature aspects of the film. You know, Matt Damon's cowardice versus Matthew McConaughey's desire to survive and save humanity, yada, yada, yada. It's very vague, very... If I had to characterize it, I would feel like it was a homogenization of most of these movies rather than
it's definitely one of those, like, some is less than the...
the sum is very much less than the individual
because these are all excellent movies that I love. You know, there's not a movie that has been mentioned that I don't like, except for admittedly, I actually haven't seen The Mirror, but I know enough about The Mirror that I'm sure I would like it. But all that aside, it's so it sums up Nolan to like a lot of people in a way that like I didn't want to acknowledge that like this is valid, but like
Nolan
he's
takes
so
the easy
shallow.
way out. He takes the easy way out with his films a lot of the time, and this
Yeah.
is something that a lot of directors get criticized for, and I'm very surprised that Nolan does not get the same critique, except from quote unquote Nolan haters.
Yeah.
Like me. But I love The Dark Knight. I think Memento's neat. And it's very obviously Memento's very cool and very new for its time, especially. But this is not what I'm looking for. This is not what anybody's looking for. This is amateurish.
This is ridiculous.
Go see Interstellar if you really enjoy space exploration films. If you really want to see some neat footage of that sort of thing, of wormholes,
and even then, it's just been done better elsewhere.
It has.
Is the fact of the
but
matter.
if you want more, go see this. If not, you're probably better off watching Solaris. Like he said, I haven't even seen that film, but I've heard it's good. Or just 2001. Go see 2001 again.
There you go.
You'll love 2001 because everyone... Go watch Star Trek the Motion Picture. That had better effects than this, practically.
Yes.
And
yes,
also
it
better characters, too, to be honest. Jim Kirk will beat Matthew McConnaughey any day. So,
All right.
I think we're just about good on Interstellar. We've certainly run a good portion of that ridiculous movie's length, bitching about it.
All right, no.
So...
All right, so I guess to wrap up, our theme song is Omerta by the band Fennec from this place was once a palace. Look it up on Bandcamp at fennecsound.bandcamp.com. And then if you want to contact us, you can email us at 2gaycats@gmail.com. That is just,
Wow, he just made that.
Gay cats. I did just make
I did not
that.
see you making that over there. We
did,
have an email now.
just because.
You're going to make the YouTube account? Because this is going to be on YouTube.
This is not going to be on YouTube.
Why is it not going to be YouTube?
We'll find a way. All right.
It's going to be on YouTube. Don't worry. We're also going to put it on probably iTunes.
All right.
And other places. So this has been Two Gay Cats. We hope you enjoyed it. Leave some comments because we're just starting out and we could use feedback.
All right. I've been Grant.
I've been Marcus. I still am, hopefully.
Hopefully. Well, we don't know. We might have gone through a wormhole.
And we hope, we might have gone through a wormhole and changed the timelines.
Exactly.
So, we hope you enjoyed this, and we hope you'll enjoy the next podcast, which will be coming very soon.
All right.
Bye-bye.